Thanks for joining us today. Welcome to What Can I Do with Conga Composer webinar. Today, we'll explore some popular Conga use cases. We're going to introduce some of our alliance partners and have them share their success stories from using Conga. I'm Teresa Bowerly, and I'll be the moderator for today's session. Before we get started, I wanted to note that the entire webinar is slated to last for 30 minutes. The webinar is being recorded, and we'll also make the recording available within a few days on our YouTube channel, as well as in our webinar archive on our Conga support page. If you do have questions during the session, please submit them via the GoToMeeting chat option. Any questions that we do not get to during the session will be followed up with after the webinar. All right, so let's get started. I'm pleased to introduce Shelley Houlihan, who will be taking you through the session today. Shelley?
Okay, sorry about that. I couldn't tell if my audio was working. So as Teresa said, we're going to go through some partner solutions today that we're really excited to share with you. And I just wanted to outline who will be going in what order to start. So we have Carrie Lassard from Magnet 360, then Nikki Van Kirk from Van Kirk Solutions, and finally Michael Boyens from Zymosis, and he's joining us all the way from Australia, so we definitely appreciate you getting on the phone early, Michael. So I'm going to jump right into it and pass the controls, if you will, over to Magnet 360. It's not quite the controls, so just let me know when you're ready to go to the next slide, but if you want to walk us through what you did here, that would be great.
Okay, looks like I'm unmuted now. Can you hear me okay? Okay, wonderful. So thanks for the introduction. Yes, I'm Carrie. I'm from Magnet 360, and we've been a Salesforce.com Gold partner since 2004. We're pleased to have over 2,000 platform projects under our belt, along with over 100 certifications in our office. And we currently have several offices across the U.S. Our headquarters is in Minneapolis. We also have an office in Chicago, New York, and then satellite offices in San Francisco and LA. So what we pride ourselves in is three unique marketing strategy for B2B and B2C engagements. And we've got a deep technical expertise on the Salesforce platform and are also happy that we have this Conga Alliance partnership under our belt as well. And we also drive competitive advantage for our clients through iterative delivery. We use what's called the Agile methodology, where we're able to take requirements from the customer, work for a few weeks, turn back around a demo, and then show them, and then we can make changes as needed. So it's a very collaborative and iterative process. If you could go to the next slide, I'll talk a little bit more about our Conga-specific work. Okay, so we work with Ecolab is a large customer of ours, and specifically in their healthcare division. If you're not familiar with Ecolab, you might be now. If you look in any doctor's offices and you see the hand sanitizers that say Ecolab on them, that is this company. So they are located in St. Paul in Minnesota, and their healthcare group had a challenge where their service reps, when they went into different hospital and healthcare facilities, they were relying on print materials and laptops, but what they really needed was a mobile solution, and then they also needed to provide customers with completed service reports in a timely manner. So they didn't have time to take notes and then go back to the office, put them in the computer, and then generate a service report afterwards. So what they did was they also had various versions of these service reports, and they had very specific parameters regarding which elements were included on these specific service reports. So for the solution, we built a service application that allowed the service reps to perform all of these service visits on their mobile tablets. And we used Conga to create, we were able to slim down the requirements, and we created 6 different templates for the various service reports. We utilized formula fields and Conga parameters inside of the buttons to streamline the process for the service reps. And so with one click of the Conga button, they were able to create a service report PDF, compose that, email to the customer with the report attached, and send it off. So the outcome was no more laptops and paper copies for the service reps. They now had the flexibility to use their mobile devices, either phones or iPads. They were able to reduce the time in recording their service visits and creating the service reports from upwards of an hour down to between 10 and 20 minutes. They now have clean and accurate, consistent customer-facing service reports, and they also have increased user adoption. So this using Salesforce and Conga has significantly reduced the support requirements through the use of native Salesforce.com and also the functionality of Conga configuration, so that we didn't have to have any extremely confusing code that requires developers and other technical assistance. And if you could go to the next slide, I'll show a quick snapshot of an output that is customer facing. So this is an actual customer facing report. We've just blurred out the customer name. So this is what can be generated very quickly. They go into each facility and they take various cycle parameters. They record different dilution rates. They record different services performed in various locations, and then once they're finished, they can quickly compile or just look up to the service visits that they want to include in the service report, and then click the button and it's automatically sent off to their customer. So that is all for my presentation, and thank you so much for listening.
That's great, Carrie. So it looks like you mentioned a couple of phrases that I love hearing. One of them being one click and another one being no code. So those are two things that I think we can all agree on that are really great, especially for customers who might not be as technical. I imagine Ecolab probably has a whole fleet of admins that are quite technical, but that's one of the things, you know, we of course love about Conga is that you can do it without any coding, and as you mentioned, just use parameters and formula fields and still get a really customized solution. So
Exactly.
that's great. Did you guys build the template in Word, or how did you handle that part of it?
We did. Yep, we did. We built the template in Word and then automatically generated it into a PDF document via a parameter inside the button.
Great.
So we're
great.
So we're able to manage the Word document template rather than having to manage it in a PDF.
Exactly, which makes it so much easier. And are they using iPads or tablets for their mobiles, or are they doing this all from a smartphone?
Yep, they're mostly doing iPads.
Okay.
Is what they've issued out to the service reps.
Great. So we're seeing more and more of that across our customer base, and just for everybody on the phone, I mean, that's something to keep in mind. I wouldn't recommend, you know, developing your solution on an iPad. Just it's much easier to do that part from a laptop or desktop computer. But as far as the end user experience, it works beautifully from an iPad, and really opens up a lot of possibilities, especially with a situation like Magnet 360 here did for Ecolab, where you have service reps in the field, and it's just like Carrie explained, it reduces the time from hours of the note taking, like she mentioned, in the office, and then, you know, you hate to do work twice, so it's would, you know, I'm sure the reps are really ecstatic that they can just click a button and enter all of this all at once rather than re-entering it when they get back to their office and going back to the computer. So that's such a cool solution, Carrie. Thanks for sharing that. Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, we've just been very pleased with what we've been able to deliver to our customers using Conga, and we've got a lot more customers that are interested in that solution, and it's something that we recommend often. So.
Good. Well, for those folks on the phone, if anyone has a similar sort of requirement or any questions about this, we'll have Carrie's information up at the end of the slideshow as well. But again, her company is Magnet 360, so a very cool solution from them. Thanks for sharing that, Carrie. Okay, we're going to move on to our next presenter, who is Nikki Van Kirk from Van Kirk Solutions. And just a moment here and we'll get Nikki connected on the audio, and she can introduce some information about the company and then the solution they built for their customer.
Hi there, thanks Shelley. So I'm a little bit on the other end of the partner scale. I'm an independent consultant up in beautiful British Columbia, Canada. I've been working with Salesforce for about 12 years, and my first Conga implementation was in 2007. And probably about 80% of my clients use Conga, and I recommend it to almost everyone. It started out as a really flexible way to build a template, but it's really evolved into a lot more business automation and a lot more features. So for the use cases I wanted to present today, I thought I would take a few examples of the more customized solutions so you get a feel for where you could take the solution. So it does involve a little bit of code, but I won't get into those details. So I wanted to show you how it can be extended a little bit to solve some more business problems. So if you can go next slide, thank you. So the first one was a client that I have that exports grain and dried food product from Alberta, from farms, and sends it out to markets like India and China. And when they take delivery of the grain, they issue scale tickets to the farmers with the weight of the truck and the weight of the product and quality and all this stuff. So that information is entered into Salesforce, and they want to be able to pick the 1, 2, 4, 5 scale tickets that were issued and create a template which assigns a sequential grain ticket number to all of them and then pushes it out to the template which summarizes it in one document. So what we did was created basically in the slides you can see in the scale ticket related list you can check off the ones that are relevant and click on the button create grain receipt. It takes you to a Visualforce page. So here you can enter what is the receipt number for all of the selected scale tickets. And then it saves that against all of the selected tickets and then takes you to an Excel template, which you can see a little bit of and look and feel at the bottom of the corner there of the slide. So we use an Excel template so that we can do some calculations, averages, totals of all the volumes and weights and display that into different cells. And we were able to set the print area in that Excel document. So it's when they print it to PDF after they reviewed it, they're only going to print the pieces or the one page that they actually want the customer to see. And we use the Visualforce page as a middle step so that we could take the information from the customer and then save it against all the records. So this saved them quite a bit of time. Prior to this, they were having to run a report with all the scale tickets, summarize all the information, and then manually fill out the grain receipt in Excel. So if you want to go to the next slide. The next one I wanted to show you was using the HTML email template and a few of the newer features that are in Conga. So this client I have sells software licenses, and they use Salesforce to generate license keys based on various product groupings. So you end up with one or more licenses against an opportunity, and they want to be able to email one email with all the license keys and expiry dates to the main contact. And then they also wanted to make sure that when they're ready to email that the account is set to active if it isn't already. So again, we use Visualforce as a mini page in between, which is all it did was update the account if it needed updating, and then it launched the Conga point merge. We ran it with the background mode so that it would just have a little window saying we're building your email, and then it would take the user to the email template with all of the details filled out. And then we had to use Conga query to do this because we're using it from code, so it's a little different than reports, but basically the query manager that Conga's built is really easy to build your query. You don't have to know SQL, you don't have to know any coding, you just pick the fields you want and it builds it for you, so that was really nice. And then we use the HTML email template, which you can see a little shot of what the template looks like in the slides. You can see the table with the licenses. You can see we're using a little bit, I think it's maybe with Conga 8 or the newer syntax with just the double curly braces that indicates that that's a merge field. So it's a little faster when you're creating your merge fields. You don't have to use the word insert field and all of that. And then the other thing we're doing is you might notice we're using a dynamic variable. So when it says hi and then DV0, we wanted to pull the contact's name out of the licenses. And they're all the same, but we wanted just to pull one. So we're using the Visualforce page goes and grabs the name, and we pop it into a dynamic variable and then put that into the template. And that's actually a really cool feature that you can use on, let's say, Word documents. I have another client who has a contract that they want to present a draft version, and then once approved, they want the real version. So we actually have a formula that pushes in the word draft into a dynamic variable, and then we created a merge field that's a watermark on the back of the Word document. So if we push the word draft in, you see the big draft as like a gray background on the document. And then after it's approved, when we don't push the word draft in, you go to the same template, there's no watermark, and now you have your final one. So I really like that dynamic variable. I think it's a pretty cool hidden feature that one doesn't require code. So yeah, those are my examples today.
Yeah, thanks for sharing those, Nikki. You had a couple of cool features I wanted to highlight. On the first one that she showed, if I can, let's see if I can back up a slide. The one that right here where she showed the grain seller. Um, she's using an Excel template, and Nikki made a good point that the reason they're doing that is because they're running all sorts of calculations. So most of you are probably familiar with Word templates. About 80% of our customers are using Word templates. But Excel is a really good solution to go to if you do need to run calculations or formulas that you don't necessarily want to do within Salesforce as maybe formula fields. And then whereas Carrie, I highlighted for not using code. Nikki, I am going to highlight for using code because Conga will work equally well either way. I'm not a coding person, so my hat off to Nikki for knowing Visualforce and how to implement that. But that can be a really good stopgap where if you have just a little bit more that you need to make easier for the customer, then you can use Visualforce to sort of bridge that gap. So that's a great solution as well. And then Nikki also highlighted a couple of cool Conga features that people might not be aware of, like the data values that she mentioned, DV0, DV1, etc. That's just the ability to pull in a data value that you might not have a corresponding field for. So like she mentioned, the ability to put in a watermark depending on, opportunity stage or something like that. And then finally, the HTML email. I just wanted to highlight that. How long has that customer been using the HTML email, Nikki?
I think in this scenario it's only been a couple of months. They're pretty
Okay.
new to Conga.
Okay, good. Because a lot of our customers, even who've been around for quite a while, aren't aware of this particular capability. This is something that comes with the standard Conga Composer app, so this is not any sort of paid add-on that you all would have to purchase. It's called Conga Email, and it's the ability to merge your data directly into the body of an email rather than having to do a document and make it an attachment. You can do that as well, so it's sort of a la carte. You can do one or the other or both. But really great for, this mobile world that we now live in. You can send things and easily pull them up on a tablet or a smartphone or whatever instead of having to open up a PDF. So that's a great one. Great, Nikki. Anything else you wanted to add there?
No, that was it. Thanks.
Okay, great. We're going to move on then, and I will introduce Michael Boyens is from Zymosis, and as I mentioned, he's in Australia. So we have quite the international call today with Canada, Australia, and the U.S. So good for us with our international clientele here and partners. It's a great mix. So I'm going to let Michael introduce himself. I was lucky enough to work with Michael many times while I was in Australia this winter, and he's just a great guy. So Michael, take it away whenever you're ready.
Thanks, Shelley. The feeling's mutual. I think it's been great working with Conga over the years. We certainly focused on delivering innovative solutions and doing things that haven't been done before. And one of the things that attracted us to Conga in the first place is you have on your website, take the Conga challenge. And we'd like to take any sort of challenges that customers give us and to do things that haven't been done before. And of course, we rely on partners to help us get there. So it's just great to be here talking about some of the things that we've done. And our biggest challenge for this particular call was to sort of figure out which is the best one to talk about. There's been so many that we've done over the years. But looking at the slide there, our focus is more on the custom cloud, so force.com, custom reporting, delivering innovative solutions. So our focus is on that really more than anything else really. But we also like to translate technology and geek speak into things that are understandable for customers. So that's a strength of ours. We are focused on delivering streamlined processes. So it's just about efficiency, but also about putting technology in the hands of users and making it user friendly. And I think there's quite a lot of benefit to be had in that. As I mentioned before, we have a focus on using the right tools, and what we like about working with Conga is that you can, with the technologies that you provide, help us to fill gaps and to do things that haven't been done. So can you just click the next slide there for me, Shelley? So the one I want to talk to you a bit about today is quite an interesting one. There's a client of ours that we're working with now for the last few years in the landscaping industry, and I'm not sure whether any of you have any experience with that. When we first sort of came into that area, we thought, oh well, it can't be too hard. People digging up dirt and doing a few things with it, and it can't be too complex to build a system around it. Boy, were we wrong. These guys are probably the most complicated industry that we've ever dealt with. The customers are working with something like 1,500 different fields worth of information, and they build these great masterpieces for things like retaining walls and swimming pools and outdoor pavilions. You name it, they do it. So their issue was, because it's so customized, the nature of the work that they do is how do they actually work with all the paper and do all those calculations efficiently. So they were taking up to about 3 days to produce an estimate over the course of a couple of weeks, and then get this back to the client to then have it signed off and then have multiple iterations on that process. So we built a force.com platform which enabled them to enter all the estimates into the system, generate the quote, and then ultimately create the PDF and email it off using the Conga functionality. The long and short of that is that now those directors are not spending their time doing all the paperwork. They're spending 2 or 3 hours on it now instead of 3 days, and that's all largely due to what we do on the Conga front. So what I wanted to show you just quickly in terms of the technical functionality is how to generate the PDF and to use this trick from Robert Boyd from Conga. If you want more information on it, you can have a look at the Conga website. It's called Conga Road Burner, and it gives you the ability to not display information on the PDF if it hasn't got any information, any sort of data in it. So if you just click to the next slide for me, Shelley, I'll just quickly show the people how that works. So in terms of this landscaping opportunity, there's a 3-step process on the left-hand column there. The client is estimating and quoting, so they're filling in information into an estimate custom object. We're then generating a quote from those 1,500 fields. We're sort of summarising that to about 500. The example there on the left-hand bottom corner, it's got a focus on a pool quote, so it's generating a quote for a pool for a client. And then at the step 2, they are merging that information using Conga Composer button into the final result at step 3, printing that PDF. But if you look down into the Conga Composer code, if you can see that in terms of the detail of it, you'll see there's a whole bunch of different report IDs, email templates being used, activity logging, and also updating status fields. One of the things that I liked in this scenario is we didn't want to produce a quote with 50 fields in it if there was only 10 bits of information that needed to be printed. So using this Conga Road Burner technique, it gives us the ability to filter out information in each row that doesn't have any data. So you might see there just under that step 3 print PDF, you'll see a little box called report filters. What we're doing there in that option 1 row is that we are filtering out that entire row of information if there is no value in it. Yeah, if you can see there, that's the one. Look at that. Well done. Look at that.
I finally found my highlighter. Sorry about that.
That's the little trick there. So there's quite a bit in terms of different rows of information in this particular PDF that we're producing. But the trick here is to create reports and then establish the filters there. And then based on that, you can hide that information. And then, of course, print the nice PDF, which elevates the brand of this landscaper. They've now won some more awards. Their quotes are up, and they're able to actually spend the time doing what they love, which is building great things. and not have to worry about a whole mountain of paperwork. So it's been great working with Conga on this and stretching the envelope again, and it helps us to help our customers to deliver great outcomes. So thanks for that, Shelley.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. That's a neat solution. And for any of the customers or prospective customers we might have on the phone, I hope you're not intimidated by this particular button URL that Michael has shared with us today. That it looks very intimidating if you're new and not familiar with the different components, but basically, just to reiterate what Michael was talking about, is they've built, there's 15 or so different Salesforce reports that they're referencing sort of in this section, if I can get this highlighted.
That's right.
And what they're doing is pulling, each of those is pulling various components. So a pool cover versus a spa, gas, tiling, etc. And then if the customer or hasn't purchased one of those various options with this row burner, what they've done is just put the table start and table end. So this is in a Word template on sort of either end of that row of data. If, for example, there weren't any purchased options for the pool cover, then the section of the template that refers to that report would just disappear. And that's why we call it row burner, as it basically gets burned and disappeared. So it's not like the customer would see an output file that says, here's your pool cover, and then that section would just be blank. It gets dynamically hidden or burned away, if you will. So it's a really cool way there's a lot of reports that are happening on the back end, but on the front, for what the end user and the customer eventually see, it gets whittled down to just what's appropriate to that particular customer. So it's a very customized and dynamic way to handle the various data components and not have to have the end user do a lot of clicking or copy and pasting or manual filters. So very cool solution there, Michael. Thanks for sharing that.
No,
I heard my favorite phrase again, that you said it used to take them 3 days to build a quote in the old paper way, and then you got that down to 1 click. So I bet they were pretty happy about that.
yeah, absolutely. It's certainly over the moon with it, and to your point about not having to then edit the output file to remove these blank rows, it just increases the efficiency further. What we
Yeah.
like is the customers don't have to play with the output. They can just click the button and send it to the customer, and everybody's happy. So
Yeah, a big cost savings there, I imagine, just from man hours spent.
absolutely, it's been
Like you
great.
said, they can spend their time doing what they love, doing landscape projects. So that's great. Well, anything else you wanted to add to that, Michael?
No, I think it's just been great working with Conga, and we're really at the point now that if anyone wants to output anything out of Salesforce, then we really say to them we've got to be using Conga because of the alternatives are lots of code and lots of time spent sort of developing things that really don't need to be, that time doesn't need to be spent on that. So it's just been great working with you guys, and we're doing another major manufacturing job right now and solving some things that haven't been able to be solved before, so we couldn't be happier.
Oh, great. Well, thank you. We're so blessed to have such great partners like you guys and Kirk Solutions and Magnet 360. So I'm going to pull up, I think we have a closing slide that. Yeah, let me sorry, I thought we had it here again. Let me pull up the one that has everybody's contact information here in case we have some folks who want to jot that down. Let me just get this big again. There we go. So again, we had Carrie Lassard from Magnet 360, and she showed us that really cool solution from Ecolab where they transitioned from manually taking notes in the office, these service reps, and then having to re-enter those later on a computer. They went totally mobile. So they used a Word template and output that to PDF. Magnet 360 is very fond of using what they call agile methodology, if you're not familiar with that, where they can do sort of iterations on the go. So they're very dynamic and able to deal with lots of changes and really flexible there, and built the same sort of solution for Ecolab. So that was a great one. And then we, heard from Nikki Van Kirk at Van Kirk Solutions, and she showed us that really neat Excel template that they printed to PDF that used the Visual Force page to save the, I think it was receipt number against all of the grain ticket records. And then she also showed us the really cool HTML email solution where they were using some dynamic values and Conga queries to sell those, or excuse me, send the customers the information about the license keys for the software company. So that was a great one as well. And then lastly, we just had Michael Boyens from Zymosis, and he showed us the quoting solution for that landscape firm where that used to be 3 days for them to generate a quote, and they got down that, reduced that to 1 click for the quote and the email. So a big time savings there, and they utilized row burner with the reports to create a really dynamic template in Word. So those are all of our partners today. Thank you again to each, Carrie, Nikki, and Michael for sharing those solutions. We just love hearing about what customers and our Conga Alliance partners are doing with Conga. There's always, every time we have one of these calls, I learn something new. So that's really great, and we have just a wealth of great partners here on the call. So again, if anyone on the phone today is interested in any of these solutions, please contact Carrie, Nikki, or Michael, and they'll be happy to share with you some more information or give you a demo or anything like that. I'm going to jump back just to a couple of closing slides that we had about some Conga resources if you're interested in those, and I'm going to let Teresa talk about these. She's kind of the expert here.
Thanks, Shelley. So thanks again for everyone attending today. I just wanted to let you guys know you will receive a follow-up email with links to this agenda recording and FAQs, and you can access that by going to our Conga support page. Shell, do you mind navigating to the support page since you've got the controls? Thank you. Yeah, we actually have a new support page that we're pretty excited about, and I kind of like to show it off just because there's so many awesome resources for everyone to just access to help them further build up their Conga Composer solutions. But so today's recording will be added under the webinar recorded webinars there. So if you click in there, you'll get access to the webinar archive, which also has other recordings from previous webinars. So we'll be sure to put today's session up there. And as I mentioned earlier, you will get a follow-up email. But otherwise, we encourage you to check out this resource page or our support page for any other information you might be looking for. And it doesn't look like we received any questions for today's session. So Shelley, you can go ahead and go back to the next slide about the upcoming training webinars. So we do have a lot of different webinars that we try to present to you guys. We've got Getting Started with Conga Composer, Exploring the Conga Template Builder, Conga Composer e-signature solution. So just as you registered for today's session, you'll do the same for any of these. And on that registration page, you'll be able to see the upcoming webinars as well. And as always, be sure to let us know what you think. Just wanted to thank our Alliance partners again for taking time out of their busy schedules to share their Conga use cases with us. So thank you very much, and we hope you have a great day.